Right, here's a quick update on what's been going on. I'm sorry I haven't had time to make many updates. Life and work and family commitments and things keep getting in the way. But what's been happening? One or two apples have set. That's looking quite good. I haven't had time to do much top dressing on all these pots. I should have really been around and top dressed them all, but I simply haven't had time. So that's a bit of a problem. But apples look like they've actually set reasonable amounts of apple for the size of trees we're looking at in here. Cherries, a disaster. Again, Thomas Rivers wrote that cherries were disappointing under glass, and I can absolutely agree with that. Very poor fruit set, but that was probably because I simply didn't have the time and patience to go around every single day with the little brush and brush on the pollen. Although the plants themselves are looking quite healthy. They have a good colour, they're putting on strong growth, and we'll need to be thinking about trimming off all these new growths and pinching back, as Rivers used to describe it. I'll have to check on his instructions, so all of these little shoots that the plant is pushing out will need to be pinched back. I can't remember how far he would pinch these back. It's a certain number of leaves. So I'll have to look that up and do that later. There's a few cherries coming up there. What else is happening? The morello's not too bad. Although I would have expected more than that. I have seen morellos do much better than this. This one has done much better in previous years. Again, not a great year. This is an olive planted in a small pot and pruned back a bit, although I've let it get far too big. Far too big. And I should have really been utterly ruthless with it in previous years. I'd probably just cut it in half and just cut this bit off. That's what I should have done. But this year looks like the first year that it might actually provide some fruit, because if I can find one, there are, it's being elusive, where is it? There you go. There are little flowers on it. And that's the first year. I think this has maybe been in a pot maybe 3 years. This is the first year that looks like there's going to be a reasonable amount of flowers on it. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. Excuse focus, I can't get this thing to focus. So there might be some olives. One of the problems with having a greenhouse is that you just accumulate all sorts of rubbish in it. And then you accumulate more rubbish than you can actually deal with, and then it lands up getting completely neglected. And you come back to it 6 months later, and it's a complete and utter disaster. But one of the reasons I've persevered with these pots, and if you don't label stuff, you just forget what went in them. And I think these started off life as lily of the valleys, but most of them are completely dead. But I knew that at least one of these pots contained tarragon. And despite the nettles growing in that, I think that little shoot in the middle is a piece of French tarragon. And I'll let this grow for a wee while and then take it apart and then see if that is tarragon, and hopefully be able to rescue that. I mean, I know I could buy a new tarragon plant, but there's always the challenge, isn't there? And one thing that is doing quite well and is in need of planting out now is the onions. These were little onion sets planted a couple of weeks ago, and they're putting on a lot of growth. In fact, they're probably beginning to get a bit weak now because they're overgrowing in here. So they desperately need planted out so that they can put on some strength outside. And one thing that always does well is the quinces. So this quince is looking slightly yellow. In fact, it looks more yellow on the camera than it does in real life. But I'm not too worried about that, because once I start getting some more liquid feed in it, it'll more of the comfrey and nettle liquid fertiliser, that will begin to green up no end. Now the quinces themselves look like quite a number of them have set properly, and that one looks like, oops, sorry, that one looks like it's set okay. Some of them haven't. That one doesn't look like it's set and will probably fall off, yeah. So that hasn't set. How about that? Sorry about the hopeless focus on this. That one hasn't set. But there's one that definitely has. And there's one that definitely has. And quite a number up near the top that definitely have. So they're beginning to improve every day. I just need to really concentrate on the watering and the feeding. Another thing that Rivers recommended was what he called syringing, which was basically just spraying the trees with water of an evening to help the fruit ripen. I'm just seeing some apples in there. Some apples on another apple tree setting. And this is ridiculously crowded now, this whole place. But that is primarily because I haven't, I've got a big area cleared where I'm working on the roof, gradually replacing the glass, reglazing that with putty. And I haven't had time to reorganise the place. Now, the apricot has slightly fewer fruit on it. A few weeks ago it had a huge amount of fruit, but a lot of them have fallen, as they do. But it's thinned itself out quite well, and the fruit that are remaining are look like they will be of a good size. So I think this is plenty for the tree to bear. Given the size that it is, it's not a very big tree at all, and that's probably quite a decent number of fruit for it to bear. There's maybe 30 on this, but once they start to ripen up, that will start to look most attractive. Again, there's some pinching out to do. These shoots that it's now beginning to produce need pinched back a bit. It's quite difficult to see. There's too much other competition here. And I really have to get back to pruning this other apricot, which is at the back here, and it's putting on a huge amount of growth. These really need cut back very severely, because I don't want all this spindly tall growth. We really want a dwarf compact plant, so that'll be next on the list to chop all that back. And this apple's doing quite well. This is James Grieve. There's quite a number of fruit set on that, and I don't think I'll have to go to any hugely extensive amount of thinning out as well. Again, I just need to shape up this bush the best I can. Some of these smaller ones can probably come off, but Quite happy with what's going on there. Tidy this up and remove some of these smaller fruit. That's not set properly anyway. Just make sure that there's no insects hiding on that too badly. And the figs are really beginning to burst into life. They're really responding very well to the comfrey and nettle feed. Again, I haven't managed to top dress these, which is a major mistake, and I should have really done that in the very early spring, but I just didn't have the time. Complete failure as a gardener, but it's putting on good growth, so it's now beginning to put on shoots, and these shoots we will pinch back to about 3 major leaves. Once it's made about 5 leaves, they just get pinched back to about 3 major leaves, and try to keep the plant as small as possible. And the other cherries, although the number of fruit on them is extremely disappointing this year, what is looking very good is the health and the amount of growth that the thing is putting on. Again, these need cut way back. I'm neglecting this severely, but I'm going to trim these way back, and hopefully I'll do that in the next video and try and get a bit of shape and at least get some strength back into these this year, if not any fruit. And these are the other 2 cherries. There's very few fruit on that, and that's majorly disappointing. But one thing that is slightly encouraging is that in previous years these suffered incredibly badly from black aphid, and there's absolutely no sign of any aphid on them, and the leaves are looking great. Excuse me pointing this up to the sky, and it's putting on a phenomenal amount of growth, far too much growth, and I should have really pruned this back really drastically before now. So although the fruit is really disappointing this year, hopefully this might be a little chance to try to get some more strength back into the plant, so at least it will have a year of rest and grow some strong wood hopefully. Thanks for watching. Cheers now.